Good morning. Welcome to Presence of the Light talk with charlierivermanbergeron. Pleasure to have you here. This morning seems to be a bit chaotic for me. Hope wherever you are, the chaos is not bothering you each too much, or this evening, as I realize I talk around the world here. I want you to just breathe into the chaos and know that everything is okay. You are perfectly fine, and we're going to move through this as I present what came to me this morning between the time I woke up and I'm now here with you. So, Lisa, thank you. At least I'm live. I'm glad to see you here, dear. Pleasure always to see you show up. And so I want to begin by saying that this past week has been one in which many of us have had some profound, I'm going to say, revelations that have come through from our higher dimensions of ourselves, from what we call guidance, what we call source. And there are many who are now publicly expressing that around the world and gathering in a co-creative framework to express these things to each of us. I myself have been receiving a lot of information. I've not been so public with it. Part of my path right now is to step back a little from the social front, contribute what comes through my heart, and to focus on listening and changing within myself to adapt to what I would call the new energies that not only humanity, but all life forms, including planet Earth, are going through. This might sound to some as very preposterous on many levels, yet I can assure you that each of us are feeling this on some level. It doesn't matter what our belief systems are. It doesn't matter who we like or we don't like. It doesn't matter any of our human sort of perspectives are really irrelevant at this point. It is above and beyond all of us, and it's a gift. And so that's what my show this morning is about: trusting during chaos. If you look at the heading, these are the words that came through me this morning, and I will read them again later, was the word trust. And I always ask for, show me the meaning, was togetherness, returning, underway, stabilizing, transformation. And I needed to hear that this morning. As I awoke this morning from my dreamtime state, and I have a page that I wrote because I couldn't slow my mind down enough to think. So if you're, hello, good morning, Alaya, lovely to see you, darling. It's always a pleasure. It's for me to slow my mind down enough to try to interpret my dream time was, I couldn't do it. I just could not do that. And I said, I don't have a topic for this morning's talk. And so I could feel the fear building, or the energy building, which I label fear. It's just a different form, and the confusion. And I realized it's chaos. And yesterday I spent the day with a dear friend on his beautiful land, and we talked for 5 hours. and we talked about finding our family, our, collective family of who resonate with us in our heart space, and what we were going to do and how we were going to interface with the world as we shift and change and come closer to get together to the truth of who we really are and what we've come here to be and do. And last night I had dreams that were so intense. They were, I haven't had some this deep in a long time, where it was all about restriction. I was restricted in everything I do, everything. I couldn't move. It was like I went to do something, and it was the density was just so hard to get through. And I would do whatever I was doing in the dream, but there was this struggle. There was a struggle, and it went from one dream scenario into another dream scenario, and each one were showing me, and I was feeling this tension and this struggle. So when I awoke, I realized, wow, I'm still feeling that. I'm carrying that energy into here. And what was that all about? Is there something going wrong? Was I in a bad energy field? And I brought it back down. I brought it back down to say, no, Charlie, you are fine. This is the energy of the world right now. And you are just highly sensitized to it. But there's a message here. And the message is what you're going to bring to the world. You just don't know it yet. So what I usually do and I guide people to do is to trust. And I wasn't thinking of trusting in that moment this morning. Believe me, I was going through my own stuff. But when I sat down, I says, I know what I got to do. I got to write. I got to tune out. And so I started playing Diva Pramal music in the background. So I'm with my headphones on to just escape from the harmonics that are going on around me and tap into some harmonics that are much more aligned with who I truly am. And as I did that, I began to write. And so as I write, it's not an automatic writing. It's not, it's who I am, but it's comes from a place above my, what we would call our ego consciousness. And it has to be filtered through that. So I make a lot of mistakes and have to correct. But the message really was, it started yesterday. Yesterday in my garden, there was a picture of a rose, and on my Facebook page, you'll see it. And I took a picture of it, it called my attention to it, of the beauty and the resonance, the oneness in it. And I saw in the light that the red of the rose and the definition of the petals was almost muted. And the golden light in the center was just so brilliant. And I took a picture of it, and I was amazed at how it took the picture, and the lines of the petals weren't clearly defined. It was muted. And I said, well, that's not just my imagination seeing that. This is the energy of that rose. And what was the rose saying to me? And so as I went to post it on social media, these are the words that came through. There is no separation. Each of us are a part of each other in a playground of love. And I melted. I can melt right now saying that. I become teary-eyed, knowing the beauty of that rose was speaking to me, to my heart, and asking me to give that message to the world. There is no separation. Each of us are a part of each other in a playground of love. Think on that. Just rest in that space. Amidst all the chaos that's going on in the world, amidst all the chaos that's going on within your own personal life, within the chaos that's happening around your little cloister of family and friends, amidst all of that, the message is we are all together. In spite of what we see, what we feel, what we hear. Note the word what, because I'm going to bring that word in the later part of this show as part of who, what, when, where, why, and how. And so this is the separation we feel. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. They're like scissors that cut us apart, separate us into these little segments. Later on, I call them the storytellers. So each of us, as we experience this physical and mental distress, it is very disturbing. But there's a higher part of ourselves, a multidimensional self that is coming through. And what I see as the gateways opening, and they're not just opening, they're being diminished. Their power and their strength to keep us from the truth of who we truly are as light and love is being dissipated, so we are receiving more of the truth of who we are, the light and the love. And this is where that word trust spoke to me, was when I saw all of this, what I would call maybe force fields or things that were resistance that you knew you could elevate to a certain level, but you couldn't go beyond that. And yesterday I drew an 1111 card, which basically was saying the doorway to higher dimensions was open. And that's what I feel we've just walked through. We've walked through a doorway that leads us beyond anything we've ever known or experienced before. And I know many others are speaking of this, and I've not had a chance to listen to them. This is how distracting the chaos of this week has been, as whenever I went to tune in, something would come up that needed to be addressed. Just like this morning, with so many things wanted to stop me from being here. But they really didn't want me to stop. They didn't want to stop me. They were there to tell me how much I need to be here and speak to you. That was the gift. That was the gift that I received this morning. So I come upstairs here in my little sanctuary, and I pick up The Still Voice, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And you've heard me read from it before. And I just want to read where I opened to. It was at the end of this. And the end of it was communion in God. And I said, is that the message? And I thought, no, we're always in communion with God. So let's see what the end of that message was. And what was the message that I was to present? And it's called Learn to Listen. Now, I don't make this up. I just share with you the flow of my energy on what my guides bring to me. None of this is planned. I had no clue when I woke up this morning what I was going to talk about. And the message in the book was, you can't read it. I can point it to you, but you won't read it. Learn to listen. And so here we go. On the spiritual path, There are many seeming contradictions. I don't know if am I in the camera here? Okay, don't want to be there. On the spiritual path, there are many seeming contradictions. You'll be told to be very careful and to think before you speak or act. Later on the path, you will be told you must learn to act spontaneously, to be quick and wise on the spur of the moment. You are at present at the stage where you must learn to be very guarded, very careful in speech. The wise man learns so much through silence. You know the story of the wise old owl who sat on a tree and looked and listened? Well, learn to be wise and silent, to listen. You want to listen to the spirit world, to listen to the words of love spoken by your beloved in the beyond, by your guide, by your teacher, and later by your master. Learn then to listen first to the people on the earth plane. Give your whole attention to the one who is speaking to you. Listen also to the sounds of the birds and the animals, the song of the wind in the trees, and the song of falling raindrops, and of the rushing river. This is how the Red Indians were trained from childhood. And because they were so trained, they were able to hear not only physical sounds, but sounds behind those of earth, the sounds of the unseen world. They could distinguish the voices of their spirit guides and teachers. They could also hear the voices of the nature spirits. It is difficult for you in these noisy cities to hear anything of these, yet you must train yourself to listen. And that is so important today. As I arose this morning from the dream state, the dream time, from dimensions of awareness into this field of physicality and awareness in this dimension, through all of that chaos, all of that noise, all of that confusion, everything that took my ego mind and sent it into all kinds of stories and quests and looking for answers. It created all of this noise. Naveen, yes, learn to listen. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to try to read some comments today. This is important right now. It is very important for each of us to pay close attention to not so much the listening with the ears, but the inner spiritual ear. Okay, if you can follow what I'm saying, you know that there's a part of you, however you describe it is irrelevant, but you know that there's a part of you that hears things that nobody else hears. That's the truth of who you are. And we've been sort of distorted in our thinking pattern because of our human mind. And our human mind is a beautiful tool. And you'll hear it called the ego. You'll hear it called a lot of different things. Subconscious, superconscious, etc. All those are labels that we've put on something to answer 6 storytellers. I'm going to introduce the storytellers to you because this is what I've been working with since I came back 27 years ago. The message for me has always been, pull the label off, Charlie. What's behind the label? Don't take things for what's presented to you as being real. They're not what you think they are. Everything has a deeper meaning. Trust us, Charlie. Trust us is the message that my guides have given me for 27 years. And I trusted them in the beginning when they had me create a bumper sticker. I had no money. I had just been homeless. I had just been an alcoholic who was on a suicide mission and accomplished that. And I just returned to Earth. And out of nowhere, they said, Charlie, we want you to bring some messages to the world. And the first one they gave me was the reversal of Descartes' statement of, I think, therefore I am. And they told me then, although I didn't understand it completely, that here is the crux of the pain and suffering of humanity. And they had me reverse the words to what they said was the truth. And the truth is, I am, therefore I think. I've carried that message with me all these years, and I still have some of the old bumper stickers. People looked at me as if I was crazy because there was a series of 7 or 8 of them. But the interesting thing is, I knew in that moment that somewhere I needed to trust what I was being heard, what I was hearing, and what I was being told. And I did not need to know, and here come the storytellers. I did not need to know who, what, when, where, or how anything occurred. And when I learned to let go of my attachment to the storytellers of who, what, when, where, why, and how, I started beginning to hear the truth. And what happens for all of us, I'm going to look at the time, 23 minutes, okay. What happens to all of us, and we've been taught this from childhood, and I'm not going to say it was an evil teaching or anybody's construct. It doesn't really matter. What matters right now is in the energy that is now being open to us. This light and this love that's coming through. The storytellers have no power. I don't know where this is coming from, but this is what I'm being guided to say. The storytellers have no power anymore. The only story is for each of us to remember in our hearts who and what we truly are. Each one of us may have a different story because we're unique. But as I said in the beginning, that message of yesterday, there is no separation. Each of us are a part of each other in a playground of love. I am part of you. You are part of me. And I witnessed this week during a river walk, a blessing of from new moon to new moon that grandmother Carol Bludgett does every year. She did it, and I was there at the opening, and I got to be in Connecticut for the last ceremony where she carries the headwaters of the river to meet the ocean for the first time in over 500 years without obstruction by humanity. The river, the water, the pure water of source met the ocean. These are the profound things that are happening. And in that moment, I was with people of all different ages. I was with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old and their mother. And I was with a woman, a grandmother who was in her 80s, who had been at Standing Rock. And gathered together, the heart resonance of all of us together was so amazing that you can't even put it into words. And even in the trivial conversation of the day, there was this beauty and this oneness, this resonance of being one heart. And yet we were all separate. We all looked different. We were all different hairstyles, different clothings, we came from different places. Yet each of us in that moment was a part of each other in one intention. We came together for the water. And so this is what we're learning now in this space and time, and we're being called to do, is come together, back together again as one humanity. Come together as one soul being called humanity. A collective. We're come back to the whole is the message that we're hearing over and over again. Take this away with you this week. Take this message away and ask yourself, how do I become whole again? The answer is trust. Who do you trust? Trust your heart. Trust your heart that is now going to receive these beautiful messages from your higher self, from your divine guidance. The connection is increasing. And this morning's message is really about trusting ourselves without distortion, without the storytellers interfering. Yes, the mind wants answers. That's why we have the storytellers, to feed the mind information. It's like the search engine. It's like Google. Who, what, when, where, why, and how are the Google of the mind. It goes on search. It wants to know. It wants to gather this information and collect it and organize it into a story. And this is where we went haywire thousands of years ago during the first foot race. It's an amazing process to come here and be here now for each of us. And so I just want to remind you that you are far more beautiful and far more powerful than you have ever imagined. And it doesn't matter if you realize it, as long as we keep moving towards it. Keep moving through these doorways. Keep moving through these energy openings, galactic portals, however you want to describe them. Energy fields. The description is only to satisfy the brain. Pull the labels off. If somebody says something you don't like, pull the label off. Pull those words right off of it and ask again, what are you? Who are you? You'll use the storytellers, but you want to see truth. Don't accept what you see immediately, because the storytellers have created this illusion to hide the truth so that what we see as chaos can be perpetuated, unkept alive. We need to bring it back into balance. But we need to discern better as to who are we serving with those storytellers, the mind or the heart? Where is my sovereignty? My sovereignty as a sovereign being of the universe is not here. Never was and never will be. This is just an operation system for this physical vehicle. Each one of us truly exists in our hearts. And as it shows 10:31, so I'm just going to read the message of the music that I was listening to when I finished my writing. And it's the Diva Primal and Mitten with Manos, In the Light of Love. And those lyrics are just so beautiful. And if you get a chance to listen to the song, please do. It's called In the Light of Love. In the light of love, we are whole. In the light of love, we are home. In the light of love, we heal and sing. Thy will be done in the light of love. Carry that vibration with you this week. Know that you are blessed in so many ways, that I love you, I thank you, and I respect you from the deep, innermost part of my heart. We are in this together, and please trust. Learn to trust. Trust your heart. Trust your higher self. Trust during the chaos. Thank you, each one of you, for showing up and shining your light back to me. I feel it. I embrace it. I hold it in grace. Have a great week. Bye-bye.